Well, first, you guys know the drill. If you're new here or if you've been here the whole time, you know the drill. Before we cook, we have to clean the kitchen, aka put these tweets out. Put these tweets out into the internet. This is the challenge-only episode of the show, so be wary of that. I am on here for the second time in less than 24 hours because if you were with me last night at 3 o'clock in the morning, which almost nobody was, I will say there was somebody in the chat before my shit died, which is weird. But yeah, man, oh, God. Last night was a journey. I did a shit ton of research and broke... Whoa, my God, calm down. Sorry, that was a stream just going off, doing its thing, you know what I mean? Good to know the sound check is popping, I guess. Anyway. There we go. My delay's that bad, or am I talking that fast? Anyway, I might have a slight respiratory infection going on right now. Plus some allergies. Shout out Houston, Texas for being, December 4th? And the temperature outside is quite toasty. Say, I got the fancy, I don't know, I said doing my wrist. I just rediscovered a really good TikTok a couple hours ago that I would play on this show, but, you know, that's not how we get down here. Anyway, let's see if the multi-chat's open. Or did my stream end again prematurely? It did not. I don't know why I stopped playing, just because I stopped everything. Anyway, ladies, gentlemen, people of the world that I live in. Let's see. Did my stream stop? I feel like it did. No. By the way, in case you're wondering why I'm freaking out and keep saying that, it's because last night I was recording at 3 o'clock in the morning because that seems to be the only reasonable time that I can record based off of how stupid my life is right now. I had that happen. I had a situation happen where your boy ended up recording at 3 o'clock in the morning and then the internet cut out. So that was fun for me personally. Recorded 10 minutes of a stream to have it all go for naught, and my internet didn't come back on until like 30 minutes later. I was already long asleep after that. I went back and checked activity on my computer retroactively. Anyway, it's time. It's time, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get it popping. It's the challenge-only episode of the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. What up? I'm Ashton G. Lewis. This is the challenge-only edition of the Broke Boy Sports Podcast, where we talk about MTV's TV show, reality TV show, The Challenge. We are the live season on right now is season 38. We're on episode 8 of season 38, and, well, off the top, it's called, actually, I forgot what the name of the episode is. Damn. Hold on a sec here. Let me get on there after I fade this music down real quick. It's like Live to Ride or Die or something like that. Shout out to our newest follower, Ari Music 28 out there. That is 5 straight weeks, 5 consecutive weeks of gaining a new follower. Welcome to the Safe Crackers, which is of course the name that I've dubbed all of the best community on Twitch, soon to be best community on Twitch when it comes to breaking down everything that's happening, man. So hopefully Look, man, Twitch is giving me a bunch of really weird feedback right now, and it's making it seem like I'm not live, even though it says live now, but you know what? Forget it, bro. We're just gonna ride it out. Shout out. Really appreciate everybody who hops into the stream. Like I say every single time somebody subscribes, I appreciate the follows across all platforms and any platform that you possibly find me on. In particular, when you find me on YouTube or on Twitch, where I broadcast the stream at, I really appreciate it because guess what? One mere second, every single second that you spend watching me gets me one step closer to my ultimate goal, which is global. Sorry, it is not global domination. Sorry, wink. It gets me one step closer to my ultimate goal of $100 million podcasting contract at some point. We got 25 subscribers on YouTube. We just got to 70 subscribers on Twitch, working our way towards 100. If we keep on the pace that we're at, we might be, if a couple things pop off here and there in the right direction, if I'm on randomly at the right time like I'm supposed to be, wow, it is Twitch is showing that my shit's down. Like, I'm tweaking so fucking hard right now. All right. Twitch was, Jesus, man. I hate Twitch sometimes. Anyway, let's get it. Let's chop it up. Let's talk about this week's episode. It was Born to Ride or Die was the name of the episode. I just remembered off the top of my head because that's how tuned in I am. That's how deep I am into the game right now. Born to Ride or Die was the answer for this week's episode. It is a reference to I guess a movie from the 1990s, like 1991, which, by the way, in case you're wondering, I was 0 years old. Actually, probably -1 years old, technically, at that point. Don't know if it released before July 15th or after July 15th, 1991. I was born in 1992. So, that being said, the other thing to bring up about this episode, the phrasing of it, the movie, I went and looked at the plot. It doesn't really connect to the episode other than it kind of rings with the name of it all together. Anyway, I couldn't draw a connection. It's a movie about a person who has to make a tough decision of whether to go to jail or go to the military to teach them how to ride and build motorcycles. It's very weird. I don't know what that could possibly connect to in terms of the show, but that is what I discovered because doing research. Anyway, let's talk about The Arrival for this week. The Arrival, if you guys do not know, breaking down every single episode, with a couple of stats, some of my opinion, and the things that happen throughout the course of the episode and how they can influence future episodes. So, the rookie, this is the current breakdown of what the house looks like right now after elimination. If you forgot, I'm here to remind you, Darrell and Veronica are officially eliminated. They lost to Amber in the elimination chamber that they were not supposed to even be in theory, in a challenge called Deep Web. There's one rookie pair, that's Horacio and Olivia, and the 3 vet pairs are all the heavy hitters, if I'm not mistaken. It's Anissa and Jordan. Devin and Tori are the only non-heavy hitter pair that is left because Bananas and Nani are the final vet pair. Everybody else is a vet and a rookie that they brought onto the show that is a true ride or die that has nothing to do with the show, right? Some people have been on the show for so long, they've actually developed lifelong friends. It's like they've been going on vacation with each other. It's like they've been going to summer camp, which is a better way to phrase it, because summer camp has like physical exhaustion that is involved with it. It's like they've been going to summer camp with each other for like 10 years, so naturally they're going to draw closer to each other, and a good chunk of them are like, hey, what if I like wanted to see this person outside of like a super competitive environment? And that's a real thing. That's a real thing. The challenge has made babies, as we all know. Anyway, that's the current breakdown of the house. This episode, as it cooks up, seems to be revealing the main character of the season as a whole. This does typically happen where there's a certain player that rises above all the others, not because they're absolutely dominating the show, but because of the things that are happening in the show are all directly correlated to them as a whole. So one of those things just so happens to be like eliminations and other things, the drama inside the house, the social game seems to run through this person in some way, shape, or form, all the way to the very end, when potentially this person is in the running for winning the title of being the challenge champion for this year. And it seems like it's going to be a little hairy to get there all the way to the final. Nonetheless, that person seems to be Nelson. Nelson is a person that historically, he's been on, 8 seasons? I think this is his 8th season or 7th season or something like that. Nelson has been historically, physically, one of the best competitors on a regular basis. He's a smaller guy, but he clearly has great body control. He is in killer shape. His running is his biggest asset for sure, but he clearly has a ton of power, and he hits the gym constantly because I think his actual job, he's like a trainer and owns a gym out in LA. But nonetheless, Nelson has historically been considered kind of semi-comedic relief for a lot of the big-time competitors. Most of it is because he does not understand how to say basic turns of phrase. For instance, the nitty-gritty is something that he says all the time, and Devin even referenced it earlier in the season. He also specializes, and this used to be an annoying type of person for me. Me personally, right? It used to be super annoying to meet these kind of people, but he's the guy who specializes in saying words that he doesn't necessarily understand the full definition of, and doesn't understand that you can't just say like a regular sentence and insert this big word or this quote unquote SAT word into that sentence. So he specializes in that. It was somewhat annoying for me a long period of time, but I also realized sometimes it's a person attempting to utilize something that they learn, which is exactly how you should be living your life, like learning things and then applying it to life that you exist in, right? There's also the aspect of you're trying to come off like you're smarter than you actually are by using bigger words and thinking that we're everybody else is so dumb that they're like, oh, he uses big words. That means that he knows things that I don't and they will believe you. That's not the case. Nonetheless, Nelson, like I said before, typically comedic relief, finds himself in the middle of all the drama, mainly because a lot of people point this out. Dude plays a lot with his emotions as opposed to making logical decisions and stuff like that. He also is one of the people that tries to be the universal thread of a narrator throughout the course of the show. So typically the diary entries that are going on by the producers where they call players into the diary room to communicate are a way to like move the story along and add context and color to the situation. Nelson aspires and strives to be one of those people on a regular basis. He also like takes it way over the top more often than not, and that's the issue, right? Like that's the overall issue with Nelson. He's doing a little too much. He constantly is doing too much, which makes sense for a guy like Nelson, who is him. Anyway, he has clearly emerged as the main character for me personally. He's won 2 daily challenges. His big storyline coming into this one, that they couldn't have bashed you over the head with it more, that Nelson has the longest losing streak of daily challenges in challenge history, and they couldn't have teased more that like he's gonna win a daily challenge in this season if you just stick around long enough, and some people stuck around long enough to see that. Now what we didn't expect, and is always a pleasant surprise, very similar to stuff that's happened with previous competitors who have been kind of inept in these daily challenges, like Big T, who has been physically overmatched in pretty much everything that she's done. She's gotten deeper into seasons. I know a lot of people probably gonna revisionist history type stuff and say that Big T was a great competitor because she chose to do all these things and kind of float a little bit, but really what it was is that Big T was such a non-factor in vast majority of the seasons that she competed in, that she was just kind of like brought along as a person that was highly expendable later on in the season, so that people didn't have to betray the people that they perceive as real threats and 2 were their friends, right? Big T, shout out to her. She's like one of the nicest people that has ever competed on the challenge on a regular basis, has an absolutely insane backstory, but was not the physical competitor or honestly social competitor. She did a good job of not annoying people, which can go a long way in a house when you're locked in a house with people for months on end. Not being annoying is a lot more important than being super entertaining. So that is that's what it really comes down to, man. That's what it really comes down to. And there are other competitors that are similar to her that have come along, but I feel like Big T is a great example of people that were non-factors in the game, but had moments where when they succeeded, it felt nice. When she succeeded in double agents with CT and carried CT to a victory for a daily challenge, it was amazing to see. A lot of people commented on how quickly she swam, and they got into a position of power, and she's clearly the biggest underdog in the house in multiple facets. So I always really enjoyed that aspect of it, and thought it was cool that randomly happens throughout the season. Very similar to seeing Nelson win not 1 but 2 daily challenges in one season is like massively important for him as a person consistently trying to be on this show for a long period of time, because based off of his lifestyle, he can become a Johnny Bananas type guy in the sense that he is constantly being called back for every single season, right? Same thing with Corey. Corey specializes in working out. He does like celebrity boxing. If he ever gets vaccinated for COVID-19, maybe he'll be invited back to the show. Who knows? But yeah, that's the thing to take away from this in terms of Nelson becoming the main character. Him winning 2 daily challenges. He has the rookie, quote unquote, potential rookie of the year as his partner in Nerys. They've been making smart moves to not piss people off, and also not falling for the trap last week with Devin trying to get them to do the dirty work or starting the war between the vets, right? The war between the vets in the same alliance, which is the bigger alliance in the house now. So he has become decisively one of the most interesting characters, if not the most interesting main character of this entire season. Never would have thought we'd be in this place. Never would have thought I would be in this place. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. Other than that, that's all I got for the arrival portion of this week's episode. What we have next, we need to talk about a couple of things that happen after everybody gets back into the house. So Amber seems to be cool with Michelle again, even though she's mentioned before that she's been Michelle has been highly unstable inside the house. And I'm not trying to comment on anybody's mental health, but her reactions and what has happened to her has been highly erratic, right? She's trying to play both sides of the house, so that can be chaotic because when you're playing both sides, you're trying to convince people that you're not doing stuff that's in plain sight, right? Like Jay and Michelle were very clearly working with Devin for a long period of time and very clearly been working with Nelson this whole time, and the production team did a good job of keeping that a secret from all of us. There seems to be a chat that just happened, I think, because the chat box is in the background because I'm dumb. Oh, no, we'll be deleting that. Thanks, bro. That is... I should probably delete that in dashboard. Sorry. Creator dashboard for Twitch. I do not want followers. I do want followers, but... anyway. I do want followers, but, like, real ones, not bots. Stream manager, delete this comment, please. Would have thought that goes without saying, but here we are. Nah, dude. Anyway, I'll move on with my life. I'm just gonna leave that there. Hopefully, it doesn't do anything weird. And hopefully that bot drops a follow. I'm kidding. Don't follow me, you stupid bot. Other stuff. The Amber aspect of everything has been really important to this story because she's connected to Michelle and she's Michelle's friend. They've mentioned that they're friends before. Amber has once again mentioned how unsteady she feels about the way Michelle's been acting lately because Michelle doesn't seem like she was really upfront about all the deals that she had made in the house, which is weird because she goes on in this episode to later say that Amber and Chauncey are her number one. So maybe they did know or something like that. Seems like Nelson also, in terms of Amber, off her list of people to work with for the remainder of the show, at least this season. And once again, we see Amber, a player that has been ridiculously good in her short time on the challenge. One, in terms of generating house drama, they literally run propaganda campaigns against her on a regular basis on this show, and it is very strange how obsessed people are with trying to convince us that Amber is a threat. Thanks, Ari. Appreciate that. I'm gonna call you by, even though I know who you are, I'm gonna call you by your screen name. I don't know if you want your name out there like that. I'm trying to do it anyway. But yeah, that's what's going down in this whole situation, right? Amber's still kind of wary even of the person that she's the closest with in the house. Welcome to the challenge, kids. Which is something that Nelson ironically says to Amber last episode. Amber, who is a challenge champion, and Nelson, who has been on 7 seasons and has gone to the final twice, I think. Yeah. So anyway, moving on. We got all that out of the way because the connection between Amber and Michelle is really important for just overall the existence of being in the house. You got to have friends, right? Johnny turns 40 on the show. They point out a bunch of stats about just how ridiculous his run on the challenge has been. He's been on 21 seasons, and he has won 33% of the seasons he's been on. He's earned over $1 million from being on the challenge, and that's not even including his contract money, right? They're talking about earning money from winning each individual season. He gets contract money for how many episodes he makes it deep into the challenge, and because of the way Bananas plays, he consistently is at the forefront of players who has been top earners outside of the show, right? Like, that is a huge deal for an elite level competitor, and it seems like this may be the season that there's just the wrong mix of people who do and don't know Johnny Bananas, because technically the last 4 eliminations attempts have been geared towards eliminating Bananas from the game and have fallen apart in some way, shape, or form. They pulled the dagger twice for safety when they got down into elimination because the 2 people up top were not brave enough to say their name as the automatic entry into elimination, because they feel like if Johnny comes back and Nani comes back, they're going to target them immediately. I think it's safe to say that they've screwed around enough, because there's definitely an argument to be made that maybe, just maybe, Bananas is coasting by not winning challenges on purpose and utilizing his alliance to be able to get votes to go, because every time somebody who's not in his direct alliance gets in power, his name is mentioned. Nadi's name is mentioned. Anyway, that's what's going on with that. Everybody talks about how they don't want to see Johnny Bananas in a final at all. Just also want to point out, Anise is apparently older than Johnny Bananas. She's 41 and Johnny's 40, and it's hard to believe. They both look really good for what people typically perceive of 40 years old. Shout out to Ariel. He says, Shana has never watched a challenge, but you're making it sound interesting. It is dramatic. It is dramatic. The drama is at peak mess at all times inside the house. It does really, it's a great experiment in terms of understanding what happens when people are literally in a pressure cooker 24/7, and they can't even show you everything that goes on. Every time the season is over, there's always things that come out from the production side, talking to people who are on social media that are popular with this show about the things that they couldn't put on camera, right? There's even now, there's one character in the show, or one player in the show, her name is Amber, and everybody is convinced that she is the biggest villain on this show, and they keep trying to tell the audience in the diary room that, like, Amber is not trustworthy. Amber's a snake, even though there are people who are openly doing snaky things, like making deals with people that they're supposed to be enemies with, and Amber is a person who literally doesn't have an alliance, so she has no power on a general basis in terms of her connection to people inside the house, but everybody's convinced that she's a bad person and that she's trying to trick everyone. But on camera, Amber is never, a show that specializes in maximizing drama and showing every single moment of conflict whatsoever, can never find a moment where Amber is being mean, where Amber is doing something to egg someone on. And it's so weird. It's so weird because it's like a whole collection of people are lying, it seems like, to target this one woman who has not had any power in the house yet, but has won a title, has won a championship in her rookie season as a competitor on the show. Anyway, speaking of innocuous conversations, Nelson and Faisal have a conversation in their room, because they're roommates this season, about how Nelson would never vote down Fessy into the zone, the elimination zone. Fessy says that he would never vote Nelson down. Nelson also brings up, I have no reason. He's like, of course you wouldn't vote me into elimination. You have no reason to vote me into elimination. They use this as an opportunity to harken back to one of the dirtiest eliminations in challenge history, probably. So there's a consistent elimination that shows up every single season in some way, shape, or form. They have these classic ways of getting people in and out of they have these classic elimination games that people play. One of them is quite simple. It's called Hall Brawl. We saw earlier in the season where there was a double version of it, where at the bottom level, the male competitors on the partner teams bang against each other, trying to push a lever back and forth, and then the female competitors up top do the same thing. Whoever wins the second level is the victor of that round, right? In Hall Brawl, the original version, there's a literal, like, plexiglass, just a little bit wider than your shoulders, hallway that they make in the middle of this pit of sand. And the two competitors just run at each other, and they try and push each other out of the way. The objective is to get to the buzzer or bell on the opposite side of your opponent's end of the hallway before they do. So a lot of this is obviously really entertaining television for people who like to see these competitors who are constantly talking shit to each other and threatening each other on multiple facets, who are constantly doing that, right? They're constantly trying to go at each other, and they finally get an opportunity to hit each other physically. It's one of the few times in the show where your pure raw strength matters so much against an opponent. Now, Fessy and Nelson are roommates, and they're cool with each other now, from what we understand. That is paramount to the fact that they go back 2 seasons and they show little clips of an elimination between Fessy and Nelson. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh man, you never really control who goes into elimination when it comes to these shows, right? The problem is that in Double Agents, the season that they're referencing, where where Fessy and Nelson end up in the elimination, Fessy tells the people, the pair, that one power in the show, Fessy tells the pair that one power in the show, he wants to go into elimination, based off of what he sees in the Elimination Chamber, which is the Hall Brawl Hall, right? Because this season had like a twist where you had to go into elimination and survive to be eligible to go to the final challenge at the end of the season, which is like a marathon race and obstacle course and shit like that, to win the money, to win the $1 million. You had to go into elimination and come back out to earn this thing called a gold skull, which is really cool. I have a sticker of it, and I actually have a t-shirt. If you ever see me wear it on the stream, it is literally from that season. I had a lot of fun watching it, despite the fact that the vets were in complete control from beginning to end. I actually enjoyed that season a bunch. Fessy knows that Nelson is going into elimination. And based off what the elimination is, he tells the power couple in that situation, which is like Tori and somebody, that they definitely want to go into elimination. They announce that it is a guys' week for elimination. So the two male competitors and the partners that were set up, it turns out Fessy versus Nelson in Hall Brawl, right? Fessy also knows that Nelson is injured. Nelson broke his finger, or had his finger heavily damaged in the last elimination that he was in. Fessy knew that and wanted to go up against his friend at the time and eliminate him in whatever challenge it was. He wanted something in particular that was strength-based, right? Because he believed that he could just overwhelmingly overpower Nelson. The Hall Brawl starts. Nelson, like I said, has broken finger, is hurt. Fessy knows this. They get into a situation. They're running down the hall. They make contact. Nelson goes crazy low on Fessy's legs, almost to the level where he hits him on the ankles. Fessy's on top of Nelson inside this little narrow hallway where Nelson can't go to the left or right to get away from Fessy. He has to go through him or over or under. The result is that Fessy feels like he's not winning the Hall Brawl because he thinks that he's overwhelmingly. Nelson came in with a great strategy to go underneath the big guy because low man wins. It's a very football type thing. Fessy begins to attack Nelson's helmet, which is just a motorcycle helmet that they use to protect people's skulls and stuff like that. He tears off the little flip cover, the windshield cover part where you can reveal your eyes. His is clear. Fessy tears it off, throws sand in Nelson's eye, sticks his finger into his eye at one point, and then right before he takes off, he just so happens to jump up in the air and step on his ankle as he with his initial plant foot to run towards the buzzer to win. He wins by a quarter of a second. Legitimately, Nelson does fantastic in the first round. The second round comes around. Fessy goes just as low as Nelson does because he anticipates it. Fessy used to play Division I football for San Diego State or something like that, played tight end. He's really tall, super muscular. He's stronger and bigger than Nelson. Nelson is short. I guess he's short. Nelson is average height and muscular. But Fessy's stronger and bigger. He goes low with him. He cracks Nelson to the point where he's collapsed on the ground, and people suspect that Nelson is concussed from the hit that he just took. And then Fessy continues to lay on top of Nelson to kind of wear him out a little bit. Nelson grabs Fessy's ankle and tries to twist it. Fessy then picks up Nelson and slams him into the ground multiple times while they're in the hall. People called it dirty. Problem is, they never said that you can't do any of that in the show. This is a moment where a lot of people turn on Fessy as a character in this show or as a competitor in this show. They also figure that Fessy is a front runner, is what a lot of people like to say. He can't win unless he knows he's going to win. He's not there to grind it out. Nelson is a grinder. He knows that you have to go out there and get dirty if you want to win. This is one example of why people don't like Fessy as a competitor on this show. That being said, they have a conversation about how they wouldn't betray each other. Nelson is like, I have a really good reason to betray you, and it seems like it's foreshadowing something that happens later on in the show. We'll find out if it does. Let's go on to the next thing here. Our next part of the show is the daily challenge. So, the daily for this week's challenge, sorry if you hear the sniffling and the snorting of snot. I have an allergic reaction going on right now to the allergies outside, so shout out. Anyway, this week's daily challenge is called Double Trouble. There is a bus where the competitors are on a platform on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side of that bus, with a rigging system above it for the safety vests, the competitors will be on top of one car. One will start on the back car. There'll be 2 more cars in between them, and then there's a front car, all 4 of them driven by actual people. Those 4 cars are going to stay in a relatively straight line. Both of the competitors are going to be strapped into harnesses, and one of the competitors is going to race across the hood of the cars, the trunk, the hood, and the roof of the cars to get to the front car, grab a key from their teammate, take that key back to the starting car in the back of the line, put 1 key into a slot, and do that 4 times to get all 4 keys. And once they get all 4 keys, they pull a lever, and it stops the time. Whoever does that challenge the fastest is victorious when it's all said and done for this week's daily challenge. It is exciting to look at. This is definitely one of those moments where, like, if you get any photo of you competing in this, you're keeping it, you're posting it on IG. I saw one where Olivia has her looking dramatically on top of the car while her hair is blowing in the wind. It's very funny because it's like, it's like you don't know the context of the photo. It's really weird. Let's talk about it. That's what we have going on here. The first team that goes up is Olivia and Horacio, who are the rookie pair, the only rookies, the only rookie pair left in this season of the show. They seem to be moving pretty quick. Horacio has a moment where he slips and falls off of the car and is hanging over the pavement kind of deal. That kills his time, right? Because he has to wait for them to readjust him. The cars, like I said before, being driven by people, so the distance between them is not being maintained consistently, and a big part of it is understanding when to jump and when not to jump. Horacio seems like he's off balance vast majority of his run. Jay and Michelle, who are the big heavy hitters on the other side of the house in terms of the alliance, are threatening again. They finished this challenge like relatively quickly. It looks like they were in first place vast majority of this time. Nelson gets DQ'd. Nelson, who we just mentioned before, the main character of this season, gets DQ'd by the only way that I saw that you can be disqualified from this challenge. He dropped the key. Which, by the way, looks like a giant, so imagine an ice cream bar that's like the size of your hand, and then imagine a little metal loop on the back end of that. That's what they used to represent the keys in this situation. So he had something that he could have held on to hold on to the key, and he didn't. Anyway, Kenny, who is the brother of Casey, the reigning champ for the challenge, and also her partner for this season of Ride or Dies, you just remembered that he existed right now in this moment. He also dropped the key. So they got DQ'd, and Casey and Kenny, once again, irrelevant, non-existent in this season, not just literally cannot find a way to get them on camera consistently because they don't do anything inside the house because they're insulated into one of the biggest alliances, if not the biggest alliance in the show. Devin steals the show again in his diary entry by referring to himself as the Fat Tom Hardy, which he claims other people call him. I'm going to start calling him that on Twitter. Then he had a pretty decent showing. He slipped at the end, but he was still able to pull the lever relatively quickly. Bananas dominates and gets a pretty clean-looking run, and then Jordan and Anissa go. Jordan utilizes his big brain and realizes that standing up completely on the cars is possibly the worst idea that you could come up with, so he spends vast majority of his run almost crawling on all fours over the top of the hood and utilizing the bungee system, the weight harness, to take some weight off of his body so that he could stay low, keep his balance, and get through there pretty quickly without any mistakes. Remember, Jordan only has one hand, and once again, he pretty much embarrasses everybody at this challenge. So, the top 3 announced at the event, they said these are the 3 fastest times. We still don't ever, I wish we lived in a time now, I wish we lived in a time on the challenge they used to show how everybody placed, and they used to use that as an excuse to throw you to the elimination or whatever, but I guess to take away the excuses for the competitors to be like, oh, you finished in last place, you're going to go into elimination, and make it less predictable, they don't show the placing anymore. They do announce when it's close times, and they kind of use that as a way to create suspense. They announce Jordan, Anissa, Jay, and Michelle, Bananas, and Nani are the final 3 in terms of time for this challenge. They go to commercial break. They come back and announce the winner in a second because I need to talk about why the challenge is so important, why the challenge was so difficult. So these are the three aspects that I took away from the challenge that seemed like they were the most important part of it. Speed was set up front because obviously it's a timed event. Speed is a factor. Now, how you gain speed or the the concept of what fast is up for debate, right? Speed is relative to finishing fast, right? There's a difference between being the fastest and finishing the fastest, if that makes sense, if you're in sports or whatever. It's an innocuous term, but it's kind of what I meant there. Balance was massively important because no matter how fast you were, if you could not maintain your balance on the moving cars that distance was changing of, they were moving, the speed of the cars was changing as well as you went through it. Because some of the cars were getting too far apart from each other, so the drivers had to speed up, all that kind of stuff like that. They did a really good job of some people who did a good job of keeping their balance ended up in the top three. They look like the three smoothest runs were people who maintain their balance. Believe it or not, Jay is a surfer in his free time. The guy who looks like the California surfer guy is a surfer in his free time. So moving on objects that seem to be going back and forth, rocking constantly, is not that much of a challenge for him as a surfer, right? Timing is massively important because the distance from the cars was changing. So the distance of your jump had to change according to the distance the cars were from each other. Some people's timing was really good. Some people's timing was not great. The timing that you used to jump from car to car affected the thing number one that I pointed out in the main part of this challenge, the speed of things. So let's look at who the winners were. The winners were Anissa and Jordan. Anissa gets her 31st win of the daily challenges so far, all time, one of the highest ranked daily challenge winners ever. Jordan gets his 22nd daily challenge win. The known alliances of these two people is a little murky, right? So Devin and Tori are on this list because Tori is allegedly really close with Jordan. They used to be engaged to each other. They got unengaged because apparently their relationship kind of fell apart a little bit. Tori has been sleeping in the same bed as Jordan apparently, and Tori is also Anissa's best friend. So they are connected in that way, which would connect Anissa and Jordan, in theory, to everybody that is connected to Devin and Tori, because Tori is going to do everything in her power for her partnership to make sure that Anissa and Jordan are safe throughout the course of this show. And we've seen already, Anissa and Jordan have gone into elimination. They've had their name said 2 weeks in a row. So the power that they have and sway they have over other people, especially considering Devin was technically working with Jay, it doesn't seem like they have a shit ton of power to be able to sway people's opinions, but they are Devin and Tori are two of the best competitors, and they might be one of the best partnerships in this entire game because the social and the physical aspect is on their side, which a lot of these partner pairs cannot say. So, that being said, good win overall. Key win in key situations. Also, if you are a person that sees Anissa and Jordan win, a certain group of people know that their names are not getting said. And that goes with everybody who wins. But in particular, Anissa and Jordan are angling for one partner pair in particular, and everything that we've seen shows that they're going to go after, you guessed it, Jay and Michelle. They voted them in twice. They put them in a situation the second time around where their friends had to pick. They put them in the draw, which is, of course, 3 pairs, because you pick one partner pair to go into elimination, and then 3 of them stand in front of a magical stone that has 3 daggers, and one of the daggers says safe. They put them in a situation where 2 girlfriends, literally Casey and Nani, are dating, so they're going to automatically save each other, and they reduce their odds of being able to pull the safe dagger significantly. And it basically automatically put them into elimination versus Laurel and Jack. They won that elimination, eliminating Laurel and Jack from the game, people that they claim were their friends. Here are the 4, if you will. Look at the 4 names, the 4 partner pairs that are listed for the initial 4 that are potentially going into elimination. Remember, half these people are going into elimination. One of them will automatically be selected by the pair that won the daily challenge, and the other 3 will have to go to, like I mentioned before, the draw, where they have to try and pull, with just sheer luck on their side, pull a dagger that says safe on it. Fessel and Mariah, for the first time this entire season. Nelson and Nuri, For Nelson and Nuri are in elimination for the first time this season as well, up for elimination. Jay and Michelle, they're back down there. I think off the top of my head, this is their second time going. And then Horacio and Olivia, who have been in the most eliminations for all the people who are remaining in the show. And that weighs in a little bit later on. So let's talk about what conversations that they had when they went into interrogation. So once you name the 4 pairs that you want up for potential entry into the zone for elimination, you talk to each one of them. Obviously, this creates drama between the people who are in power and the people who are potentially up for elimination. We saw a situation where Jay and Michelle won power, and Jordan talked himself into being the target to eliminate Laurel and Jack. So, one thing off the top, and it's because when you're in the interrogation room, the lighting is a little bit different, and you get close-ups of the people who won. Jordan, they need to get a barber in the house. Jordan is rocking a mullet, and the party in the back is getting a little too wild. The party in the back, they're about to call the cops for a noise complaint, is what I'm going to say. This is our first full-on revenge power play of the entire season. Like Jay and Michelle's entry or use of Jordan and Anissa was initially not intended to go at Jordan and Anissa, right? It was intended to use them to eliminate Laurel and Jack, so you can't call that a full-on revenge power play. All these moves are actually full measured attacks to break connections in the house. So with Fessy and Olivia in the draw, along Fessy and Mariah, the pair, and then Olivia and Horacio in the same draw as Nelson and Nuri potentially, it will force Nelson to choose between the person that he has aligned himself with and his friend, and the woman in the house that he is truly says that he is falling for or has romantic feelings for. So it's a tough decision all around. Many people would say that's a form of treachery to do that in the house. Fessy and Mariah, when they go into interrogation, they're told that they're floaters, because they are. They have an alliance, but they're not showing their cards very quickly. They're not lobbying for other people. People have mentioned it before multiple times in diary entries that Fessy and Mariah really are almost like non-existent unless there are people in a position of power. Fessel points out that he has allegedly been keeping Anissa safe, which is hard to believe because, like I mentioned before, Jordan and Anissa have been in elimination or been in the 4 and went into elimination the last 2 weeks, right? Nelson and Nuri come into the interrogation room. Jordan implores Nelson to play with emotion, which seems to be an intentional nod to, if he pulls the dagger, to put Fessy in to the challenge. Fessy, his friend, until it's not convenient anymore, Fessy, right? Olivia is the girl that he's really digging, and he has the potential, if he pulls a safe dagger, to make sure that she don't have to go into elimination again and potentially get sent home. So he's trying to get him to go at Fessy, which of course would break a massive, massive deal that is the crux of a big alliance, because Fessy and Mariah are a part of the Big Brother Alliance, and it's called the Big Brother Alliance because a lot of these competitors, Fessy, Casey, both were on Big Brother together, and they're 2 of the most powerful players in the game, right? Them getting messed up would subsequently set Casey up to tell Bananas and Nany that it's okay to go for Nelson, right? And it will put Nelson on the block, but it is yet another attempt to use Nelson as a ploy, a tool to force the fight amongst the vets in terms of the grab for power, the breaking of alliances, the breaking of deals. This is back-to-back weeks where this has happened to Nelson, and it's interesting what happens a little bit later on in the show. A person, like I said before, Jordan clearly doesn't trust Fessy. He knows that Fessy is a potential threat in the regular part of the game before you get to the final to get him eliminated if he has his name put up. Now, that's on the cutting room floor. Fessy is clearly upset that Anissa wouldn't do anything to prevent his name from being said in the interrogation room, and he makes it seem like he is going to go out of his way to go for Anissa and Jordan again. So, just when they're out of the fire, they're out of the pan and into the fire. It seems like if Fessy ever gets power again, it seems like they are a guaranteed name that he is going to say. And as we all know, you never know what's going to happen in any of these challenges. So, but yeah, moving on. Jay and Michelle walk into the room. my thing is, I love this part of the show, right? I love this part because Jay and Michelle know that they are going to be the direct vote. Anissa and Jordan know that Jay and Michelle are going to be the direct vote because they're going to say their names. Michelle tries to convince Jordan and Anissa that they should team up if they come back after elimination because alliances are changing and they can make something shake in this game, right? I also do enjoy how Jay and Michelle are very much like, ha ha ha, here are some jokes. We're wasting our time trying to talk to you. Here's a little witty banter back and forth. We know what time it is. You know what time it is. See you in elimination. And when we come back, we're coming for you. I like it. I like the not being fake upset about, hey, you said our names and we're going to say yours, right? They took it personally when you said their name. They took it personally. You took it personally. And now this is beef, and this beef is real. It just so happens to help out Jordan and Anissa a ton because, like we mentioned before, Jay and Michelle have a big sort of alliance behind them in terms of being able to have sway with some of the rookies that are on the show that are, or sway with some of the outsiders outside the main alliance on the show, and they have power as well. Horacio and Olivia walk into the show, and once again, another really pleasant interaction between some really good competitors. Jordan applauds Horacio and Olivia for being strong enough rookies to fight through and be the last rookie pair standing. That is something impressive. They've gone into elimination. They've proven they're tougher than some of the pairs that are available, and they're proven that they are not to be fucked with. They won a daily challenge, and they've come close to winning a daily challenge 2 other times in this season. Not only that, they've won now 2 eliminations with the potential to win a 3rd if they end up going into this elimination. Also, I will point out, this is a really good ploy by Jordan to potentially butter up some people that, one, may have power later on in the game, to think about, the only reason I put you in is because I had to put your alliance in and my alliance is over here, right? It could also be a really good ploy for very similar to what Michelle was trying to hint at. The soil is a little bit loose. The ground beneath us is changing in the house, and it might be time to get some new friends. You know what I mean? Some friends that in tough situations are going to turn up and be clutch. Speaking of turn up, let's talk about the club scene. Oh, sorry. Let me make sure I click the right thing before I ruin the surprise. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the club scene, shall we? Number 6. So it is a nighttime turn up. They go to a bar. They used to give out like free shout outs to these bars or whatever, but I will point out beforehand, you notice about 2 seconds into the bar scene, Jay and Nelson are twinsies. They're wearing the same flannel shirt. By the way, it's flannel season in Argentina, apparently. Jay and Nelson are wearing flannel. I think Amber's wearing flannel or a sweater or something like that. And Jordan 100% is wearing flannel because he's been wearing it all season, along with that weird babushka head tie when he goes to elimination. It makes a reappearance, don't worry. Bartenders versus the cast. The bartenders for the past 3 episodes and maybe the entire season, they've been pouring them drinks to the brim, to the edge. Like when they hand it to them, they got to be careful that they're not spilling it out. I saw Mariah with a wine glass. You guys know, if you don't know, you're not supposed to fill, or the theory is that every bottle of wine has 4 glasses in it. And a glass of wine is considered to be the point where the edge, or like the where the cup part, the cupped area of the glass becomes straight. Like that's supposed to be around that area. You get 4 glasses of wine out of each pour. It looked like they put about 3 glasses in Mariah's. And Mariah is like 5'4". Mariah's like 5'4". She was feeling it. She was turned up at that. Maybe that was the only drink that she had. But once again, we live in a time now where the challenge is significantly dampened down the amount of alcohol that is available and how they're monitoring how much alcohol is consumed when they're in the house on a regular basis. And also the show has become so serious. It comes off like they don't drink nearly as much as they used to, because there used to be after the club type stuff that would happen all the time. There used to be shit that would happen on the bus. People would get drunk and make out with each other on the bus after being in the house for so long. People would get on the bus and say fucked up stuff. Jordan made a joke about our brothers and sisters that have Down syndrome on a bus one time being drunk, and then proceeded to tell everybody who said that he was wrong because he got mad or whatever, proceeded to tell everybody to shut the fuck up when they tried to be like, hey man, that's messed up that you made a joke about a group of people that, one, haven't done anything to you, and then 2, dude, you don't have a hand and you trying to make fun of other people who are, I guess, I don't even know the proper term. You try to make fun of other people who are, different, right? And it's like fucked up that a guy who has what you quote unquote call a disability. And I think if there's anything that you've seen on this season of the challenge is that hand is probably an attempt to level the playing field for the rest of us. Against Jordan in athletic endeavors, because he been cooking this season. I don't give a shit what people say. Dude played every sport under the sun. He talked about how he felt like not having his right hand has been his drive to prove everybody that he can do stuff, right? Which is messed up because it means that Jordan has probably spent a good chunk of his life feeling less than because he doesn't have a right hand. Even though it has turned him into clearly a human being when it comes to athletic endeavors on a whole nother level, right? Messed up situations make good things happen. It happens a lot in life because that's how humans work, right? Humans get put in bad situations and they make the best out of them. And for the most part, humans do cool stuff when they're under heavy pressure. Doesn't mean that you should put them under heavy pressure, but they do cool stuff when that does happen. By the way, speaking of Jordan, seemed like he getting a little close to Nerese, who, if you recall, earlier in the season was really feeling Johnny. And I feel like a lot of people thought Johnny was really good looking. And also, I feel like a lot of people not really talking about how Johnny looks exactly like Corey. So it'll be really fun when they're on the same season together, which could be next season based off of some of the stuff we see. Who knows? Anyway, Nerese is really feeling Corey. If you recall, Nelson and Nerese used to be together. They broke up, but they're still cool with each other, which is saying a lot because Nelson has a long history of mistreating women to a certain degree. He's been accused of domestic violence with one of his partners on Dr. Phil before, I believe it was. Anyway, they're kind of getting close to each other. Nerese has already had a diary entry where she was like, watching Jordan go out there and slide across those cars is a little sexy for her because she's one of those people that gets turned on by like elite competitors, which is, it happens. Not me, but I respect it. I see how that could be a thing for some people. We've already seen her call her sexy, like I said. Oh, and the episode preview at the end of this episode shows them like cuddle up together. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, and also Tori yelling at Jordan about, you've seen me naked. We've been sleeping in the same bed. But yeah, it happens. Welcome to the house, right? Amber and Michelle's roller coaster relationship seems to be back on a high after Michelle specifically goes out of her way to tell Amber that she's sorry for what happened when she saw that her name was on the board for interrogation because, Michelle somehow was still upset that her name was on the board, even though it was like really clear that they were gunning for Jay and Michelle. She was still shocked and upset that her name ended up on the board when the people that she voted into elimination, like legitimately voted into elimination, voted her into elimination, which is funny. Fessy and Anissa have a hug. If you don't know, Fessy and Anissa used to be like, they weren't cool with each other, then they were. Anissa has this thing of like these people that she wasn't cool with initially. She finds the better side of those people and they become her friends. Honestly, elite type of person to be able to do that. To see somebody that she doesn't like and still be open to embracing that person later on, which is how she ended up apparently so close to Jordan. Anissa, once again, showing us how we all should live our life a little bit better. You know what I mean? Keep your heart open and love will find its way in. Hopefully some of you got that was literally from a K Jewelers commercial. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about the elimination. So, keeping it simple, off rip, Jordan and Anissa select Jay and Michelle. They actually give a really funny speech about how they're giving them an opportunity for redemption when they go in, because they're totally going to forgive them if they go into elimination and survive. Or vote their asses right back into elimination the following week if they get the chance. They also make yet another reference to how this isn't Survivor. If there's one thing about the challenge, they tweak so hard. Despite all the messed up stuff Big Brother competitors have done on this show, they hate Survivor. They target Survivor, guys. Wow, we got another follower, Raphael ASTM. Shout out, man, for joining up. Shout out for following up. Anyway, the dagger situation. Jordan and Anissa choose Jay and Michelle. The dagger chooses Nelson and Nerese, which is hilarious because they actually didn't even pull the dagger. Everybody else just pulled the blank ones. So Nelson, when he figured out that Fessy had not pulled the safe dagger, he literally, you can see him cursing into the sand. And then TJ gives the most maniacal evil villain laugh ever, right? He gives that laugh. It's pretty funny because it's hilarious of a situation because this is what everybody was like, oh, this is the worst case scenario. If Nelson isn't the direct vote and he ends up on the stage trying to pull the dagger and ends up having to choose between Fessy and Olivia, the two people he's closest to in the house in this show for this season, and having to pick what matters more, the girl that you like or the game that you're playing for money, right? Well, pretty clear. Nelson let people know what the answer was after, long deliberation. Even though I'm pretty sure he already had made his mind up, right? Nelson and Nerese pick Fessy and Mariah to save from elimination. And the zone ends up getting Jay and Michelle versus Olivia and Horacio. And one of the more interesting eliminations of the entire show. But yeah, I'd just like to take this moment to point out Jordan is still wearing that weird head wrap underneath his cowboy hat. Still doing that. We're like 4 weeks into it, and he keeps looking like the wildest motherfucker at eliminations. Shout out to him for, knowing how to get people's attention. Jordan and Anissa select, like I said, Jay and Michelle, and we end up in this situation. The elimination itself is called Spun Out. Yet another motorcycle reference to that movie I was talking about before at the beginning of the show. Your partner is strapped to a wheel on one side of the wheel, and you are on the other side of it. Your job, if you're the person not strapped to the wheel, is to run like a hamster inside the wheel to move it up and down the track so that you and your partner can solve a 4-piece pyramid puzzle where like I said, it's a pyramid with holes in it, and along the track, there is 3 places where you can place puzzle pieces. You are not allowed to put a bigger piece on top of a smaller piece. So the objective seems to be take piece number 1, because remember it's a pyramid, so it's progressively getting bigger as it goes to the bottom. The answer seems to be take the small piece, put it on the first post you come to, take the second piece, put it on the second post you come to, take the third piece, put it on the third one that you come to, and then move the first piece at the beginning of the track to the second piece, then place the fourth piece, the biggest piece, on the place where you took the smallest piece from, and then move it one piece at a time further down the track, stacking it even more. So it takes, I want to say 6. That, by the way, I just figured out that was the answer right now. I've been thinking about it for the past couple of weeks, and I am stupid, but it took me that long to think about moving it up and down the field to realize that that's what the actual answer is. So it was pretty wild. But as you can see, based off what I just said, it takes a lot of energy from the person moving back and forth. And you also, if you're the person running on the hamster wheel, you don't know where the posts are at, where you're putting the puzzle pieces. So you end up moving the wheel, but you don't know when to stop moving unless your partner tells you. That is a key factor in this elimination. So it's a massive factor because guess what, guys? Every elimination, if there is an opportunity for the peanut gallery, the other competitors who are not in elimination, including the people who won and put the 2 pairs down there, there's an opportunity to interfere or help the people that they want to succeed, they are going to take it. So we witness probably an accidental stroke of genius from production. The vets who want Olivia and Horacio to win because they like them more, and they're also not Jay and Michelle, who they hate the most, right? That's usually how you decide who you want going in there. There is a moment where Amber tells Jordan to shut up, and Jordan and Bananas are yelling at the absolute top of their lungs to make sure that Olivia and Horacio can hear them, which affects Jay and Michelle's ability to communicate with each other. Right? That is a big factor in this. It also subsequently seemingly affects Horacio and Olivia's ability to communicate with each other, because Horacio talks about how he cannot hear Olivia at all, right? Because everybody's yelling and screaming throughout the challenge. It's important to realize that's important. That's massive for this challenge in particular because literally two of them are running blind, right? The person moving the wheel who has the ability to help solve the puzzle the fastest cannot see, one, the puzzle pieces, and two, where they go, right? Like, you can tell they don't even know how many puzzle pieces there are on the running side because Jay asked Michelle how many pieces there are. Anyway, that happens. There's Amber yelling at them to shut up. Other people seem a little quiet. Like, there seems to be some people who have either chosen not to choose sides in this one, depending upon who comes back. And then two, there are other people, because they do hear each other very distinctly. They talk about it almost every single time they come back for elimination. They know who is cheering for them, and they know who is cheering against them, and they use that information to determine who's on their side, right? There's some other people who are pretty quiet. It also may have been the other vets told some of the other vets to only let Jordan and Bananas talk, which is a very common thing that does happen, but we'll never know. So it happens. There's a little bit better communication. When it's all said and done, the winner is Olivia and Horacio. They get their third elimination win of the season, getting them, which by the way, I think 4 elimination wins gets you like in the top 20 all time on this show because there have been so many competitors that have gone into elimination and just gotten smoked. 4 wins gets you like in pretty high company. Like Amber has 4 elimination wins and she's been on the show for 3 seasons, right? Olivia and Horacio win again and they get one step closer to being everybody's favorite little pawns to put into elimination, which they have been vast majority of the season. There's also an aspect of this where they get so good that they are the go-to name to say to eliminate someone, or they get so good that they don't want them to get more experience in eliminations to succeed. I will also point out they have had a ton of help every time they've gone into elimination from the vets. That is a big deal, especially come later on when, guess what? Somebody got to go home. And the names that are going to be said are pretty clear, right? The rookie pair making it this far because they've been able to thwart the plans of the veterans, in theory, is not by accident. It is good information and knowledge to have. I think everybody has decidedly said that they understand that Olivia and Horacio are easily the best rookies next to Jordan. And that's the thing too. Johnny and Raven had bad teamwork, right? And that's what undid them. But Olivia and Horacio seem to be on a whole nother level and competing on different levels. So let's talk about something that happens after the elimination. Jay and Michelle point out how they had the whole house shook and nobody really kind of bats an eye at it or whatever. I think they did. Let's talk about what happens. The vets are really pumped to eliminate Jay and Michelle, obviously. And then TJ takes a little time, the man that he is, to step forward and say, congratulations on surviving. This show is about friendship. This show is about change. It's about treachery on a lot of levels. And as TJ always says, he's the dirtiest player in the game. He gives the hint that I've been waiting for, you've been waiting for, everyone else has been waiting for all season. He gives the hint that the big, real surprise for this season before the final is happening after the next challenge. Now, here are like the top 3 things that I think he's referencing, right? Some of these are pretty obvious. This is very much a window into changing who your partner is. I think that is without a question what we're talking about, right? In the preview, we hear Devin in the background say, the old mid-season switch up, right? There are 8 pairs left, and I don't think we're at the mid-season point. I think we're past the mid-season point by quite a bit. Usually, there's only like 4 pairs that go into the final, 4 or 5 or something like that. Here, we'll see. Here are the ways it could break out. Number 1, the partner format turns into teams. I think this is the lowest on everybody's list, which is why I said it first. I don't think anybody on the face of the planet hopes that this turns into a team event, right? Some people like the partner pairs. I'm not one of those people, right? I like the treachery. I like the mess. I like how the game changes its dynamic to mess with the people who think that they have cooked it up, right? So, for instance, this entire season has a bigger mix of rookies with veterans, right? Because last season we saw, or 2 seasons ago in Double Agents, we saw the veterans catch on to a pattern of how to eliminate and create new rookie pairs to put them into elimination, right? They would send a mixed pair in. One pair would get eliminated. The vet from the pair that went in would pick a team that had a vet rookie combination, and then that pair would become a new pair, and it would make a vet combination and a rookie combination, and the rookie pair ended up automatically going into elimination. I know that didn't make much sense in terms of math or whatever, but it was basically they were targeting the rookies the entire season. Even though the rookies were paired up with vets, the dynamic of the game allowed them to manipulate who would go with what pair. And so you had partnerships betraying each other before elimination, which was cool to see a little bit, but it got super annoying because you knew who was going into elimination when it was all said and done, and they would always have the little preview of like, oh yeah, man, this daily challenge is super important because if we don't win it, we're going into elimination, and they would never win it. There was not a single rookie pair that would win because everybody who was in a vet rookie or a vet pair was operating against them, which sucks. I talked about this before, about how the dynamics of the game were working against the rookies, right? The partner format turns into teams, it doesn't seem like it's going to be fun. The next challenge decides the new partner for the challengers based off of like the times that people finished with. That has happened before. It is the dynamic that introduces itself in the final pretty consistently when there's enough people to do so, especially when they're mixed gendered enough. They basically, like, you get to a checkpoint and the next person that shows up here is your partner, or the next lady that shows up here is your partner for the next portion of the final, right? That changes up the dynamic and everything like that. It helps with people getting mixed times, people to speed up, people to slow down, based off of who shows up, right? And that's a dynamic that could make it return itself. And the messiest option is, very similar to Double Agents, you go into elimination, you get to pick, if you survive elimination, you get to swap partners with somebody. This, of course, entices people to actively want to go into elimination and targets teams at a point in the game where there are only strong teams left. There is a way to mix up pairs to make rookie pairs, but it's not nearly as easy because it is requiring you to betray your friends, which... Here's a list of people that I think can flip up on their partners. Olivia has mentioned twice in this episode that she didn't like how Horacio doesn't seem like he's clutch, which is hard to believe because he's been on a show similar to the challenge before, and he's been playing sports his entire life. That doesn't necessarily make you clutch, but he's been in high-pressure situations of athletic peak performance, right? And done well, especially considering how well they've done on this show this season. Jordan ditching Anissa is like the top of everybody's list. Everybody's been talking about it all season. The second that Jordan gets an opportunity to flip up on Anissa and get a better partner, he's going to do it. Now, this could be interesting because at first I thought it would be an attempt from Jordan. If he got the opportunity to ditch Anissa, he would go to Tori. Because Tori is one of, if not the best lady in the house right now in terms of athletic ability since Laurel has been ejected from the game or eliminated from the game. Now, with the things kind of getting a little frisky with Nuri, she might be on the top of the list, and she's Rookie of the Year right now. She has looked like the best lady in the house this season. The other thing that I saw that's a possibility, stick with me on this one, Fessel ditching Mariah for maybe Olivia, which would give him protection from Nelson if Nelson decides that he wants to flip up on him, which he wouldn't do because Nelson hasn't shown that he's going to betray him or anything like that, right? And Amber... he would either go for Olivia or he would go for Amber since she's a winner, and that would force Mariah into a rookie pair that could be targeted by the daily challenge winner. That's not Olivia and Horacio. It would be Mariah and Chauncey, who have not really shown a ton. Chauncey does have an elimination win after last week. Mariah has won one daily challenge, but she's not been like super ecstatic. She's clearly in fantastic shape, but it's not like she's dominating like Nurys has. She hasn't really, and this could be the way that their partnership works. It could also be the way the diary entries are shaking out. They only talk to Mariah when they absolutely have to because she's not really saying anything that's super exciting. I think the most exciting thing that she said is that my name doesn't look right up on the board for interrogation, and Fessy could see an opportunity to get a more veteran partner to go to the challenge, to go to the finals with, that also may have some connections in the house or whatever, which makes me wonder, like, does Amber really have a connection? And also, if Fessy steals Amber, is she going to actually perform well after he has basically set her boyfriend up to be eliminated? But it would be messy. It would be peak Fessy, I think, in my mind. Tell me who you think, tell me what partners you think would make a good mix-up. I appreciate everybody showing up for the stream. I have noticed that there's a lot more people in here than normal. There's a lot more people in here than normal. I appreciate it. I might need to start doing this stream at this time on a regular basis. Shout out to everybody who's watching on Twitch, YouTube, and on Facebook. Yes, if you are one of my personal Facebook friends or whatever, I'm going to make a Facebook account for the Broke Boy Sports Podcast, because obviously I need to do that so I can stream from there. And it'll be easier to manage. Shout out to everybody. Follow me on social media. Follow me on Twitter at FB_playbook. Follow me on, also you can follow me on Twitter, FB_playbook, and at the Ashton J. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Those are the same name. It's at the Ashton Forever. Trying to get to 1,000 TikTok followers before the end of the year, so we can go live and do the podcast on there as well, man. And, if you're not subscribed on any of the other platforms, follow me there. If you like workout stuff from a fat guy, follow me on Instagram. I also post sports photography in my Instagram story every single Monday and Tuesday. I do an image of the week for the NFL, which I have to record today before the day is over. So yeah, hit me up, man. I appreciate everybody who showed up for the show tonight. Oh man, I almost forgot, dude. I do rankings. I did rankings. I almost blew that. Anyway, here are last week's rankings for the partner pairs in the show. Fessy and Mariah. Nelson and Nuri are number 2 in this one because they are in an alliance together and they have had great amount of power. Fessy doesn't seem like he's pissed off too many people, which could be a good and a bad thing depending upon the week. Jay and Michelle went from 5 to 3 in the rankings last week. They obviously are eliminated, and now there are 8 pairs left in the show. Bananas and Nani are still at the bottom for me because it definitely comes off like every single pair in the house is targeting them, and they're trying to work around a way to get somebody who's good enough to get Bananas and Nani, and when they can't do that, they go for somebody else. And it feels like everybody except Nelson and Nuri are aiming and angling to try and eliminate Bananas and Nana. Sorry, Banani, Bananas and Nani, Banani, which hopefully they're selling merch that says Banani on it. Here are the new top 8, because there's only 8 pairs left in the show. I got Casey and Kenny because, honestly, man, they floated this long, and they're so well insulated that if anybody even says Casey's name, so many people in this house get fucking pissed off, including Fessy and, of course, Nani, and Bananas get upset because Nani is dating Casey, right? Nelson and Nuri, number 2, because they're one, I think because with the elimination of Michelle and Jay, they've now won the most eliminations. They've won the most daily challenges in the show so far. So, I appreciate it, man. Appreciate the shout out, man. I really do. I appreciate that. What's up, Pagoda? See you on Saturday. Hopefully you're coming, bro. If you are coming out, let me know. Hit me up afterwards. Devin and Tori, number 3 in my rankings, because Devin clearly has a deal with everybody in the fucking house. Everybody knows that he has a deal, and they still didn't put him in elimination. He's got friends in high places, as they like to say. And also, Devin and Tori have finished in the top 3 in multiple daily challenges. It's only a matter of time before they win another one. Fessy and Mariah, because it seems like Fessy may be slightly on the outs in terms of people who are drastically protected. He doesn't seem like he's in real good standing with Anissa or Jordan, who are slightly below them, because I don't think Anissa and Jordan are in good standing with these top 4 pairs that are above, except Devin and Tori, right? I don't think they're really connected to Bananas and Nani, and they're definitely not connected to Horacio and Aluya and Amber and Chauncey. They seem like the only vet pair that is in a tenuous situation. Nobody's saying their name, but it's out of fear. Like, Anissa still clearly performs well in eliminations. Jordan is one of the best challengers in recent memory, or the recent era of the challenge, so it's going to be hard to eliminate them. You have to have a plan. You can't just stumble across eliminating them, especially considering I think a lot of people are not, or there was a chunk of people in the house that were probably anticipating a way to change partners, but as long as Jordan and Anissa are paired together and they can get to the final together, Jordan has like very little chance of actually winning because of where Anissa is in terms of her cardio. Everything else is fine, but like her cardiovascular skill is what's lacking the most, especially in comparison to the other ladies remaining in the house. She's got the weakest cardio out of everybody in the house in theory, from what we've been able to see. She was the only one walking in the last daily challenge, not the double trouble one, but the one before that, or the spun out one, double trouble one, the one before that. Amber and Chauncey doesn't seem like they have an alliance. They've gone into elimination. Jay and Michelle, I thought, were their best connection. Now they're gone. They are probably at the top of the chopping block, along with Bananas and Nani, who are the big pie-in-the-sky objective for almost every vet pair in this house. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, tell me what you think about my rankings on Twitter at FB_Playbook, at The Ashton J, on YouTube at Broke Boy Sports, same name, on Twitch. Hit me up on TikTok as well. And I'm out. Wash your hands. Be nice to people. Do good.